minute, but
I just opened the room.
can we revisit?
Yeah. So here's what
Next week.
Yeah, in summary, here's what I think you need to do.
Or later.
I think you need to
Okay.
I think you need to start doing some research on some areas. Okay. And I think you should target, I think you should be in that $300,000 to $400,000 neighborhood. Right. Let's say $300,000 to $400,000 neighborhood. That's gonna lower the load that you have to bear every single day of making contacts. Right. All right, we're starting to admit people. Go ahead and schedule another 30 minutes with me. And then what we can do is go into some like real practical stuff on making the transition is going to feel like you are essentially doing both for now, right? And if you have to, let's say you have to refer, the next 1 or 2 deals in Snellville away just to kind of get your footing in Alpharetta or wherever it is, so be it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me hop off of this one and we'll get on the main call and we'll see. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, I was on mute.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Can't hear anybody.
Hey, Bill.
Can you hear me?
Is that me?
I can hear
you.
Hey, Maddie.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah.
Hey, Steph.
Hi, Pam. Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
Hi.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
I don't know what's going on. What about now?
we can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you. We'll do the headset later. Okay, guys. How are we feeling?
Good.
Everyone healthy, safe?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. My across the street neighbor has coronavirus.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
No.
My parents just got their test back, I just got the call like 5 minutes ago and they were good. So they're in New Jersey. So that was like, thank God.
Jeez. Oh my goodness. All right. So I want to kind of make this a catch-all for anything that's on our mind, to make sure that we're doing the right stuff every day, to make sure that we are taking the appropriate action in all the right places. We can take a quick minute to welcome Ashley. I believe this is your first or second call, right?
My first, yes.
Ashley, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself? Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I'm Ashley Goodrich. I am getting back into real estate. I was in real estate about maybe 8 years ago or so, and did it for a couple years. And at the time, my kids were really small in preschool and trying to get started on a business, and it was just too hard for me to do with the kids being little. And so I'd had my license on hold for a little while and decided to come back. And so I feel like I'm kind of starting over fresh with Keller Williams. Awesome.
Did she pick the right spot, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. Is your volume on your computer up?
I just got it. For some reason, I wasn't connected to the audio. I don't know why it keeps not.
It's doing that to me each time now. Like, I have to go at the mute button and then connect audio.
Okay. Usually, right? Normally, you just jump in and it's there. So
These last 2 calls, you have to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing that is really working to get people into our database, or to continue to develop relationships with people that will likely do business with us in the future. What are we doing to be most successful right now?
I can go first. Go
ahead.
So I've been walking through my neighborhood and everyone seems like they're outside. So I've just been talking to everyone. And I had someone yesterday that said he's not ready just yet, but as soon as he's ready to put his home on the market, that I'm the person he wants. So
Nice.
I will keep in touch with him. But that's just been helpful for me. It's just because I normally don't walk around my neighborhood, so I don't know my neighbors. But now I have these magnets on my car, and I've delivered toilet paper. So now I'm just like, I want them to know who I am. So.
Great. If there's any type of way that you could write them like a little note, right? Pop it in the mail. If you know their name, you could look it up on the tax records. You know, say just you put that data obviously into the report, or I'm sorry, into command, right? And then I think you put yourself on mute.
I did. Talking in. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And drop them a little line. Hey, it was such a great, you know, I've really enjoyed walking the neighborhood. It was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, I plan on seeing him again today because I'm gonna just keep walking. So
Exactly.
I see these people. He walks a dog every day, so it's very easy.
Did you get his contact information?
I just have his first name. I don't have his last name. Yesterday was the first time I talked to him. So but I see him all the time. So
You could be like, yeah, if you can go down $2,000 more, we got a deal. He's like, what are you doing? You're working? You're like, selling homes, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, hang on just 1 second. I'll be right back with you. You know,
Just make sure you
joking a
mute your
little bit,
phone so nobody calls you.
What's that? What's that, Pam?
I said, make sure she mutes her phone so nobody calls her while she's recording.
Has that ever happened to you?
No, but I've heard of it happening. Or put
I
it
I
on
don't know what's
airplane mode.
going on with this thing.
When I sold a washer and dryer on Craigslist years ago, and there were people that were looking at it trying to decide if they were going to get it. And so I pretended I took the house number and I called my cell phone and I pretended someone was interested, and just to like make it seem a little, and they were like, okay, we're going to take it. And so
I got to tell you, the very first person, well, not the very first person, but probably one of the first 5 people I ever added to my database was somebody that bought my wife's washer and dryer that she owned before we moved in together. And I never did get paid from the guy, but I certainly flirted with him for a long time. But I said, man, you ought to just buy and sell a bunch of home related stuff on Craigslist, and you lose a couple bucks, you make a couple bucks, who cares? You meet like 5 people a day, right? And they're all talking about moving into a new place.
yeah.
Right. So we went over this exercise a little bit earlier. If you had to, or on another coaching call, if you absolutely had to get a piece of business before the end of this week, what would you do to get it? Where would you find the most motivated person?
Home Depot. Is that what I think?
Maybe. Maybe. You walk around there. What else?
I think dealing with the making the cold calls is important. So probably dealing with the expireds, because you do know that their listing has expired. So they definitely probably want to sell. So that would be a good place, I guess. I would think so. I was on the phone with Fizbos too. I was on the phone with a couple of Fizbos earlier today who I'm still talking with.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to use the standard, you know, Fizbo script or expired script. You could take it even a little bit more casual and say, hey, I'm sure you're getting clobbered with calls. The thing is, me and you both know you want to sell your house. Is that true? Right.
Right.
That's one approach. Or you could say something to the effect of, you know, I'm sure you're getting clobbered with calls. I don't know how you feel about all that. I'm here. I'd love to help you. We've got a number of ways we can help our sellers in this crisis. We've got some virtual showing options, and I can send you a little message or a little one sheet on that. Would that be beneficial? Obviously, they're going to say yes to that.
All right.
Okay, well, I'm going to need your correct email for that. Right. By the way, is this the best number to reach you at in the future? Yes. Right. You can take it, just tweak the delivery a little bit, because what you're trying to do is make yourself stand out from the pack right now. Right.
Okay.
Any other idea?
About where to find people?
Yeah. Where can we find the most motivated people right now?
I mean, you know, our database we can look through. I still have people that I met at open houses who want to buy and sell, but you know, they're kind of pushing off right now just because of what's going on. However, being that I got my house is into contract, and it went into contract off of this virtual tour, that gives me some kind of like ammo to say, hey, you know what? You don't even have to bring people in the house. I can do it this way, you know?
Now you can share that story.
Mhm.
You call a Fizbo and say, hey, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you this story.
Well,
I
you
got
know,
an opportunity to help a seller. We made an 8-minute video. We sent it out to the world. 2 days later, it's under contract.
you know, I'm going to call that Fizbo who kept calling me last week, right?
Yeah,
Stuck in limbo while I just got a house under contract in 2 days. Yeah,
absolutely.
that guy's getting it.
The second you get a good story, tell the world about it.
I think everybody here should use the story and just say it was like your stuff, right? Like we're a team, right?
Yeah,
So talk like that. Like when you're like my team and you're like, I'm an individual agent. And then you're taught like, no, Keller Williams is your team.
right. The productivity group is a team. You and your accountability partner are a team. You know, your coworker, it could be anything. You just want an opportunity to tell a positive story,
Yeah.
right? What other ideas do we have?
I just got off a call before I got on this call with, I think I mentioned last week where I reached out to like a financial coach that I know and asked her if she wanted to do, you know, a live Zoom.
Yeah.
And so we just got off the phone. We just got off a Zoom brainstorming on that. And I think that that'll help. You know, we're each going to have a bio about us and then a quick blurb about what we're going to cover. And I'm going to get exposure to her clients. Now, I don't know that these people, anyone needs to do it urgently, but it's going to put me in front of a lot more people than I would be normally.
Love that idea.
She's going to be in front of people, you know, that she's financial services. And so she'll be in front of people that, I mean, I spoke to one of my clients this morning and I said, well, next week we're going to do a Zoom on this, you know, managing your finances and the pivot and all that. And she was like, well, I definitely need that. So now Ellen's going to get exposure to my clients too. So
There's I love that idea, Heather. You could milk that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. If you go to your CPA, if you go to your financial planner, you go to your tax guy, whatever, and you say, hey, would you be willing to put on a Zoom with me? And we can cross market it to each other's database. And it's going to be value for you and for that person. And all you have to do, Heather, is get on there and say, hey, our organization or my organization does virtual showings and virtual business in the following ways. And let me tell you a story about what kind of awesome results it generated. Right. You know, does anyone need anything right now?
Right. And that's what Ellen said. She said, you know, I'm willing to bet that people think that real estate is dead right now. And I'm like, no, not at all. And she was like, excellent. Let's talk about it.
Every one of my neighbors is like, what are you doing? They're like they like want to bring over food because they think I'm totally out of business, right? You must
Don't take it from the one next door.
What? Yeah, I know exactly, exactly. All right, I want to ask you guys a question. Here's another line that I heard this morning. Something about like if you need any help, real estate or otherwise. So it's like this subtle hint. It's like, don't forget, I do real estate, but it's not an aggressive move at all. If you need any help, real estate or otherwise, just, you know, please let me know. So it's a subtle reminder that that's what you do on a daily basis, but it's not coming from a place of a sales pitch, right? So don't be afraid to use that phrase. All right, I want to ask this question. I'm going to ask for you guys to be vulnerable. Okay, we're all here to support one another, okay? I want you to answer the following question. What is keeping you from becoming a great agent?
I'm going to say, for me, it's getting organized right now, seriously. I'm okay with getting on the phones, but I'm just like, where do I start? There's just so much coming at me with all the technology and stuff from transferring from Metro to here. So I think for me, it's really just trying to get organized and know what should come first. Other than reading the books, you know, there's 10,000 Zooms, you know, trying to decipher which ones are imperative and which ones I can bypass. So.
Okay. I appreciate that. We'll kind of come back to all these one by one and summarize. But what are some of the other ideas, guys?
For me, it's working on the business or in the business and not on it.
Not working on the business. Okay, we'll come back to that too.
I know the answer. It's ridiculous. I need to lead gen and I don't do it like I should. I've been doing
Say that again. I actually don't know that you're right on that. Say that one more time.
I said I thought I knew the answer, which is that I don't lead gen as much as I should, if at all.
But what you're telling me is you don't spend enough time on the business.
No. I'm saying I am so right. Well, maybe I'm confusing it. I'm so focused on what I've got going on right now, maybe I'm in the business and I'm not focusing on the business. Am I saying it right?
So I mean, we could use different words, but I'll tell you kind of the way I think about it. This might be a good use of a couple minutes here. Okay, I'm gonna draw you a little picture. Okay, I think that pretty much your real estate business. Here, let me see if I can't make this a little easier. Your real estate business can be divided into 3 groups. Okay, lead gen, operations, sales. I'm going to super oversimplify this really fast. Okay. Lead gen is everything that happens until you get a contract. Ops is everything after you get a contract. Sales is the people who actually meet with the buyers and with the sellers. So these people, this is like your inside sales agent, your outside sales agent, your cold caller, your marketer, that kind of thing, right? Maybe social media person. This is your contract to close, your listings manager, your data entry person, your runner, your bookkeeper, the person who puts the sign in the ground, all that stuff. Okay. And then this is when you are in the buyer agent role or the listing agent role. That's when you go on a buyer appointment or you go on a seller appointment or you're preparing for those. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So as a solo agent, we end up having all of these jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what I would call working in the business. So we may be saying the same thing, Heather, we're just using different words. This is what I would call working in the business. The job that you forget that you also have is this job, CEO. You also own the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the CEO of the business, then your attention is scattered between these 3 things. And very rarely do you get a chance to focus on this. This, for example, would be working through the economic model, building the 1-3-5, setting goals, getting coached, right? This kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because this, when you focus your attention here, you're better at performing in these 3 areas, right? If you spend all of your time and energy here, you actually, you don't have enough time left to be strategic, right? And take a step back and say, how is my business spending money where it needs to spend money? Or is my business converting at the rate it should convert at? Or is the lead gen levers that I'm pushing the right ones to push, right? So this is what I would call working on your business. These jobs are in the business. This job is on the business. Does that make sense?
Yes. So to answer your question, I'm not working in the business. I'm not lead genning as much as I should.
Okay, so that's a whole different problem where I thought you were going.
Yeah, no.
So, okay, so we're just flat out not making enough phone calls. That's one issue.
I am not making my phone calls.
I'm going to pretend like somebody said, I'm not spending enough time on the business. And my response to that would be that your calendar is going to convict you on that. Okay, so if you don't have planning time, right, in your calendar, even if it's like half an hour, an hour on the weekend, for you to kind of take stock of how did my last week go? Did I book any appointments? Did I hold any appointments? How did I use my time? Where did I win? Where did I not win? Right? What script could I master this week that'll make me better at converting? What presentation should I polish up on? Right? Did I use my time wisely? If you're not thinking about that stuff, the issue is you're not going to see a whole lot of improvement here. So you're spending some time looking back and you're spending some time looking forward, right? Because every appointment that I have on my calendar for this upcoming week is that a good use of my time? Right? Do I need to cancel any appointments? Do I have time scheduled on my calendar that's actually not in line with the goals that I have for my family or for my work, for my financial world, for my business, right? So you're spending time working on your business. And the only way, by the way, that's going to happen is if you have tight control over your calendar. If you remember from a couple of shift tactics ago, they talked about the very first thing when you have your blank calendar is to schedule the vacations, right? The time off. The second thing you ought to schedule is planning time. And the third thing you should schedule is, work time, right? When you're going to be generating leads. That's it. So Heather, you may need attention in both of these, which I don't want to single you out. Everyone on this call needs attention in both of these.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been good about planning my schedule. I've been really good at glossing over my lead gen for something else, whatever else comes up, which is stupid.
So maybe you need to quote unquote earn whatever else you're focused on, right? So if I add 3 people to my database, then I can have lunch with my kid. Or if I, add 2 people to my database, then I can go on the 11 o'clock Zoom call. Otherwise, I didn't earn the right to do it.
That's a good point.
Right. It's kind of like you say, like, if I get to the gym in the morning, then I can treat myself with a piece of chocolate in the afternoon or something like that, right?
Yeah.
What type of treat can I give what's my reward for having nailed my goal? Right. What other issues are preventing us from becoming a great agent?
I just don't have enough motivated people in my database. So I've got to find the motivated people.
Okay. Are you willing to?
To a certain extent, yes, but I know there are things I don't want to do.
Right. I heard a great phrase about what a coach does the other day. A coach tells you things you don't want to hear so that you can get what you want.
Right.
Right, Stephanie, you've done that before as a coach? You tell the person what they do not want to hear so that they can ultimately get what they told you they wanted in the first place. Right. So there's really no other pretty much every single problem can be overcome in real estate with more leads. Right? If you can't find the motivated, that means you don't have enough leads. Because if you had more leads, there'd be more people motivated. Right? If you don't have anyone in the pipeline, you need more leads. Even if you're busy, I was just on the phone with another one of our team members that is, in my opinion, they're spending a lot of time working on lower end buyers and sellers, right? And it's not leaving them a lot of time to work with the higher end folks. And as a result, they have to do a lot of calling and a lot of transactions and a lot of appointments and a lot of presentations in order to earn the kind of money that they could earn if they would just work less with pricier people. I'm not talking about $1 million homes. I'm talking about getting it up from 200 grand. That make sense?
Yes.
Let's talk about organization for a second. I suspect that a lot of us are struggling with that.
Yes.
That is all going to go back to your calendar. And how do we know what to put on our calendar? We know what to put on our calendar based on what our goals are. So we follow that kind of continuum, which is goals, 135 or GPS, 411 calendar. Can you get your sister to do it, please? Give me 20 seconds.
Everyone's looking a little tired over the phone there.
True that.
Have we hit that 3-week wall of I'm tired of being home kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. So we got goals, 1, 3, 5, 4 and 1 calendar, right? So at a time where you are not under a huge amount of stress and you really get a time to kind of dream about what you want and why you want it, and how a real estate business that you own and operate can fund all that stuff. Then we determine what gets the right to be in your calendar. What I have said to you guys kind of from the start of the coronavirus thing is for agents that don't have a ton of business right now, your time should be spent primarily in two places. One, database, getting on the phone, calling people you know or calling people you don't know, and drumming up some business. And secondly, learning. And at the very beginning of this, we said 50-50. Then I started seeing your numbers, and to be a quote gentle 10, what we need to do, what we determined is that we just flat out weren't making enough phone calls. We just were not making enough calls. Okay, and so I suggested that you go to 75% calls or lead generation and 25% learning. For the people that have business in the pipeline, those numbers are going to have to come down because you're going to need to devote some time to servicing those leads as well, right? Preparing for presentations or doing virtual showings or dealing with the closing coordination and all that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so when we say we're going to spend a portion of the time talking to our database or building our database and the other time working on learning, here's what I think the priorities there are, and particularly for the people that are new to Keller Williams, is it's learning about the systems. So for example, let's say I'm on the phone with somebody and they say, oh, my lease expires in October, call me in August. And then we get off the telephone. What happens then, right? What system do you have or do you need to create so that that data doesn't get lost, right? Are you putting something in a calendar? Are you, do you have like the box like we read about in Tactic 5? Do you have something set up on command? Do you have an assistant that's going to remind you? How is that going to happen? Do you have a board of all the people that you need to call in April or August? So what is the system that you need to execute on in order to not make sure nothing slips through the cracks? Does that make sense? So that then becomes your priority, because this whole business is around finding people to meet with, meeting with them, and delivering what you've promised. So you need to make sure that is the priority system that you set up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So then the question becomes is, well, what does that look like? Right? So then we look into opportunities. So learning today might be watching a couple of videos on opportunities, or learning today might be dragging 50 of your people in your database into command and properly tagging them. And there's videos on that too. Now, what I'm going to really encourage you guys to do, just from a mental standpoint, is you're not going to learn command overnight, and you're not going to go find a pipeline full of people overnight. And so the way that you need to think about a successful day is by following your calendar. So if your day says, I'm going to learn from 2 to 3, then when you actually learn from 2 to 3, you've done your job. And you can put away your computer and say, I've worked today, I'm making progress. I now know something more about this company or this process or a piece of technology or whatever that's going to help me become more efficient in the future. So be okay with following your calendar, right? However, that's only part of the calendar. The other part is I need to go find 2 people to add to my database today that I can go, have a deliverable on. I want to make 2 promises to people and then execute on it. Right? So your day is going to be split up in a couple of different ways. One is finding business and servicing it, and the other is learning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What thoughts or questions do we have on that idea?
Get it together.
Well, because I had this conversation recently with someone, I thought I would mention For the people new to KW, especially, and whether you're new to real estate or not, I would recommend you look at Marty Miller Command 3.0.
Yes.
And they're like 10, maybe 15-minute instructions on how to work in Command. And it's easy to just like turn it on and follow what he's saying and go do it in your own, your own command, to be able to learn and, make it a goal to look at maybe 2 of them a day or 3 of them a day.
I love that. I just wrote the title in the chat part. That's a Facebook group. I believe he probably also has a YouTube channel too.
He does. The videos are all on YouTube, and I find it much easier to find them and watch them in sequence.
On YouTube?
By looking at them on YouTube, yes.
Cool. So search for Marty Miller Command 3.0 on YouTube. So, and I'll tell you, has anyone ever so I have, a day planner or whatever, right? And I have a list of a couple things that I want to do today, right? So has anyone ever done something that wasn't on your list and then written it on their list and then checked it off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. So that's not just me, right?
No.
Why do you do that anyway?
Because it feels good.
So you accomplished something that day.
Yeah. So what if you just write down a bunch of stuff that you can do that doesn't take a lot of time and say, I'm going to watch 2 command videos today for a total of 10 minutes. Right? And then once it's completed, you check it off. And something goes on in your head that says, I'm actually doing great today. I'm actually moving the needle. Right? And so you look down and it says, practice listing presentation. You say, great, for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to run through the listing presentation 3 times as fast as I possibly can. And then it's going to go into your head, and then you're going to check it off, and you're like, man, I'm crushing it today. Okay, add 2 people to the database. So then you hit the phones until you add 2 people to the database, right? Put them on smart plans. Check. Give yourself a chance to win. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I've mentioned this to you guys many, many times, but I find it to be, it honestly was one of the biggest things that ever changed in my business, which was, if I didn't know what a successful day looked like, then I always found myself working and wishing I was at home and wondering if the work I was putting in was enough, right? And then when I went home, and I was exhausted, by the way. And then when I went home, I was still exhausted, worried about whether I should have made more phone calls or whether things were going to fall into place the way I needed them to fall into place. And so what ended up happening is I was barely present at work and I was barely present at home. Okay. And I just don't think that's why we got into the business. Let's just be frank. I think we got into the business because we want to use business as a way to fund an awesome life. And so the only way that's going to happen is if you are at peace with what you accomplish on a daily basis. And you're only going to be at peace, by the way, when you know what those metrics are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I'm just going to, I'm very proud of something. I'm going to show it to you guys really fast, okay? Tam, you'll get a good chuckle out of this.
Can't wait to see it.
Okay, I totally nerded out on all of the 4 models, okay? So what we've done here is, you see the squares in yellow? Those are the things that change based on the individual's goals, okay? So this particular person wanted to make $200,000. So just to keep the math simple, I'm going to make, well, we'll get it close to 200,000. So 19 transactions. They said 25% of their business comes from sellers. They have an average seller sales price of $350. 75% of their business comes from buyers. They have an average price of $350. They make 3% on average of both of those. What we know is if they have 19 transactions at that price, they'll GCI just a hair shy of 200 grand. All they got to do is sell 14, just over 14 buyers and 5 listings all year long. Okay. And in order for that to happen, all they got to do is go on 44 appointments. So let's just assume they're going to work 44 weeks out of the year, which I think all of us would be proud of, right? That's working 2 full months off, and you have 1 appointment each week, and you gross $200,000. Kim, if I were to go to you and say, hey, all you need to do is get yourself 1 appointment a week and convert at a reasonable rate with people that own this size properties, and I'll give you 200 grand. Would you do that? I'm going to take you off mute just for effect purposes.
Yes, I would do that.
Okay. Is there anybody here that would not be willing to do that job? Okay, good. Good. So what happens, for example, if you go up to 24 units at that price? Now you're making 250,000. So let's go back to something that a lot of agents say they want at the beginning of their career, right? They want to make $100,000. So here, if you work with $350,000 buyers and sellers and get standard commissions, all you got to do is have 10 transactions the entire year for you to gross $100,000. All you have to do is you have to go on 17 buyer, let's call it 18 buyer appointments a year and 6 listing appointments a year. So that's 24 appointments. That's 2 appointments a month. That's 1 appointment every other month. I'm sorry, every other week. And you'll net yourself, or you'll gross $100,000. Does that make sense? 350 is actually a hair less than the average sales price in Roswell right now. Does anyone think that is too much work?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back to this and show you, let's say a business is a little bit more balanced, 50-50. It'll change the stats a tiny bit. I did a calculation here which basically says how many listings do you need to hold active at all times, and it's just simply 1. So if you have a listing and it goes under contract, go find another listing. All you need is 1 listing at all times active. Okay, and daily contacts, 11. If you do that, you'll make the $100,000. For those that want to make more than that, I get it. I would want to make more too. We can easily change some of these numbers and you'll see exactly what it is. So let's say, for example, you're going to do 20 transactions instead. All you need to do is now carry 2 listings and make 18 daily content. That's all this business is having conversations with people and proving to them that you know what you're talking about when it comes to real estate. Okay. And I also went as far as some calculations on the lead MREA2 numbers on goals for adding people to the database and how many people you'd have to add in the first 8 weeks versus the rest of the year based on your goal, and percentages of, based on your incomes, what percentage you should be spending on all of the different categories for cost of sale and for operating expenses. So with all of that said, we have to get comfortable with the monotony of success, right? So for example, the best foul shooter in basketball, does he just shoot foul shots when it's time, when he gets fouled during the game? Or does he shoot foul shots other times?
Always.
All day. All day he's practicing, right? Does the person who is really good at dribbling and really good at, you know, driving the basket and all that, they're working on their footwork. They're working on their, you know, just the boring, you know, body motion. You know, you get the ball and you move it here, you pass. Get the ball, move it here, pass. Over and over and over and over. We are like those athletes, if you will. What we do is we hear something from the public. Oh, well, I think I'm going to pull my home off the market. And then we have to say something in response in an effort to try to win that business, right? Are you practicing the monotonous stuff that's going to get you in front of more people? Make sense? I also talked to, we had a coaching session earlier today, and we talked about if you're dealing with strangers, if you're talking to strangers, that oftentimes is better because it's sharpening your act, right? Sometimes you can let the ball, let your guard down with your friends, which I don't recommend, by the way. But with strangers, you got to be, you're giving it 100%, right? So if you want to get better at objection handlers and scripts, call some people you don't know. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. What thoughts do we have so far? I got another handful of things we can go over.
I have to run because I have to go take someone to see a house. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Heather.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bill, I thought that the guy that was on the 11 o'clock call, is his name Don?
Matt Hermes.
Okay, so he had a good idea this morning that I thought about, because I remember I told you about the list of emails that I have from church.
Yeah.
So when he said come from a place of contribution, I think I'm going to use those people as like do some kind of charitable event and use those names to draw them into the charitable event. I don't know if while the kids are at home, maybe I'll collect books or something, like have start a book drive for all the little kids stuck at home I was thinking about, but something to kind of, so I can tell them I met them at church, and then they will be willing to probably, more than likely, participate and give me their information so I can come pick up the books.
I love that. I love that. Now, I would suggest giving it a little extra thought. Not that that's not well thought through, but make sure, I think this would be nice. It should be a match for your brand, right?
Say that again?
It should be a match for your brand. It should be something that you're going to do over and over again, like maybe once a year.
Got it.
Right? Like you might do something around Thanksgiving, you might do something around Easter, something
Or
about
like a Christmas collection for books too. Like I could do it now and then I use it as a Christmas thing yearly.
Right. And this could be a charity that you support over time, and that you interview the owner of the charity and the person that runs it, and a couple of the people that benefit from it. I mean, you could, I don't want to use the word milk it, but this could be part of your brand. This could be part of what you do and why you do it, right? So I would encourage you to give some thought, real thorough thought to what that type of charity might be.
Okay.
Like, I never did this, but I thought about it for a long time. You remember those the commercial that was Nothing But Net? It was like Larry Bird and like I think Michael Jordan was on it, and a couple of other people, like famous people, and they'd throw the ball off the building, and it would bounce a couple times, and it would swoosh with nothing but net.
Yes.
There's a charity that I don't know where it's based, but it's called Nothing But Nets, and you can make a donation. I think it's like, I want to say it's like $10, and it buys like 30 nets for families in Africa. And they put it around their hut or whatever, and it prevents that family from getting
Malaria.
Right? So you can say, hey, we support, my sales organization supports this charity, and every time you transact with me, we make a donation and help 1,000 families make sure they're protected from malaria, right? And maybe that cost you $50 or something.
That's good.
Right. The money is not even the important part. The important part is the message, because then people see you as more of a person, right? You actually support something, and something's meaningful to you. So maybe that causes homelessness, or maybe that causes, like the guy said earlier, and Roswell's done this for a couple of years, is the prom dress drive.
Yeah.
Right. We used to do a lot of work with the foster care foundation. Right. So we're gonna do a winter coat drive, or we're gonna do bathing suit drive or whatever it may be, to use as a contact point, a non-salesy contact point for your database, to let them know that you do things other than ask if somebody wants to buy real estate, sell real estate, or invest in real estate, and send me their information, that serves the community, that's going to touch their heart, that everyone can win from, right?
Yes.
And then you can invite them to, hell, you could do a Zoom. Hey, here's 3 kids that benefited from this. Here's a girl that, got a prom dress from us, and this is a picture of her and her date at the prom, right? And she had the time of her life, right? So how can we support our community while branding ourselves and creating more awareness in the community about what we do and why we do it? Thoughts? So I'm going to challenge each of you to think about what type of initiative would you like to do, right? Which type of what type of segment of the population speaks to you, right? And it may be very emotional. Maybe we have an agent, very well-known agent actually, at Keller Williams, and he spoke at Family Reunion, and I actually didn't know this. He's a MAPS coach, and he's, he owns Cyberbacker, which is a big virtual assistant company. He's a mega agent out of Utah, MAPS coach, all that. He was homeless for about 1.5 years when he started his real estate business. So he was like a member of like Planet Fitness or something like that for $10 a month, so he can go work out and shower there. And he lived in his car. And for the first close to 2 years that he did that he was in real estate, he'd go into the office, he'd spend all day and all night there. And then when it was time to leave, he'd go spend the night in a parking lot somewhere in his car. Nobody knew it. So now he supports causes like that, right? Maybe somebody has gone hungry before. Maybe somebody or have a lot of debt, right? Maybe you support some type of company that helps people get out of debt, or helps people pay for education. One thing I always thought was cool, this is something that I haven't really put a plan into action, but one thing that kind of I think is a really cool idea is I would almost like to be like a shark on Shark Tank for like kid entrepreneurs. Right? So somebody comes, some young kid is got a cool idea, and they want to they want to go all in. They want to spend energy and time, seeing if they can make this thing happen, and they need 10 grand. I want to write that check. Right? So what speaks to you? This is a great environment to drum up something like that, because people are particularly sensitive to that stuff right now. Okay. One thing that I also want to talk about is, has anyone ever done Bold on the call? So there's this idea in Bold. It's called CANI, I think is what it's called. And it's like constant and never-ending improvement, right? So let me equate it to like working out. So today I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Tomorrow I'm going to do 11. Next day I'm going to do 12. Next day I'm going to do 13. Right? What can I do each day to improve upon myself the day before? Right? Can I make one more phone call? Can I send one more email? Can I send one more text? Right? Can I do one more push-up? Can I drink one more sip of water? Right? What can I do to constantly be improving? Right? I used to have this thing before when I was young in the business, and I'd say, whenever I felt like stopping for the day, I'd go make one more phone call. And maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work. There was definitely business that came from it, but it's funny. All the fitness people are drinking water right now. Y'all cracking me up. just go do it. One more thing, right? How do I push myself to create a new habit? How do I push myself to take that one extra step? Does that make sense? How do you feel when I say that?
I like a challenge. So for me, I want to be better each day. So I enjoy like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Does that feel scary to anybody? No?
Well, it's such a small amount. Like you just have to do a little bit more. So if you asked me to drink a gallon of water a day, I would be really nervous. But if I just have to drink one more glass, I can do that.
Right.
Achievable.
And it could be anything. Maybe you snooze 4 times. Well, maybe tomorrow you snooze 3.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the next day you snooze 2. What else is on your mind? Oh, you know what? I think I forgot to mention this on the call earlier today, but this is a new week for the DTD2, which is the DTD2 is a system that came out of Bold that is a systematic way of communicating with your database 4 times a year by phone and twice a year by text. So what the recommendation is this week you take everyone in your database whose last name starts with A, and whose last name starts with W, and you call them. And everyone in your database whose last name starts with N, as in Nancy, you text them. Okay. And you may want to, you know, have a positive story ready in case you need it, right? A positive story could be, hey, oh my gosh, you know, if it comes up, don't make it about real estate, but if it comes up, you could tell them how many homes are, you know, have gone under contract in the last 24 hours. Or, hey, my accountability partner just put a listing on the market, did a 10-minute virtual, you know, listing video and sold it in 2 days. There's definitely a lot of buyers and sellers out there, right? You could ask, hey, do you have any real estate related goals that you'd like to accomplish this year? And you say, yeah, I'd like to buy an investment property. Beautiful. Well, I don't, but my sister does. She's looking to buy an investment property. Or my aunt is looking to sell her home in Lilburn or whatever. Awesome, I can help with that, right? So the more conversations you have, and you can subtly bring it up, you know, anything I can do in real estate or otherwise, right? Have we got some phrases or some scripts or some ideas on how we can go out into the community and make an impact today? Should I take everyone off mute? Ashley, what are you thinking? Not to call you out individually, but I will.
No, that's okay. I just don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even have access to Command or any of this. So I feel like I just need a place to start.
Yes, you are in a little bit of a different situation because of when you came on board.
Yeah.
My recommendation to you would be to dive into the scripts, dive into Ramp Up, and dive into some of the YouTube videos on Command. And that way you can, you know, at least become familiar with some of those systems. You can study some of the scripts, participate in these calls, right? And really do some good brainstorming on what your goals are, right? What would you like to accomplish from a financial standpoint, from a time standpoint, from an impact standpoint? And once you have those things, we can start to put you through the process of building out that economic model and getting you into some, like a 1-page business plan, the 135, and ultimately to a calendar that allows you to do the most important things every day.
Okay. The scripts, where do I access those?
So there's a ton of resources in the Google Drive file.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to give you one more challenge before we end today. So we've been doing 20 calls per day, or I'm sorry, 20 contacts, 20 two-way conversations each day. And when you do those, I want 2 of those phone calls, 2, to be sincerely an expression of gratitude. Okay. Like I was on a call the other day, I forget which call it was, with Mike Mulder, and he said, I called the person who sold me the house, or like the builder who built my house, and just told him how much I loved the house. Right. And when we've all been stuck in our houses for 3 weeks, there's gonna be a lot of people that come out of this wanting a new house. Right. And there's gonna be a lot of people that are super grateful for what they have. I'm super grateful for what I have. Right. And we actually have reached out to the person that sold us this house, that the seller actually, and said, we just love it here. You know, thank you so much. Right. And you will be amazed at the reactions you get. So few people do that, and so few people receive those phone calls. When was the last time anybody ever got a call like that? Just somebody with no secondary motive that just came out of the blue and said, I just so much appreciate the fact that you did this for me. Has anyone got one of those lately? No. So use this time as a way to do that. So within the 20 contacts that you're making each day, make sure that at least 2 of them are just totally expressing gratitude. Okay? All right, so at 3 o'clock, if anyone is interested, we've had relatively low attendance lately, but from 3 to 3:30, we're gonna do kind of coffee with Bill. So I'm gonna take just a 2-minute break, and then we'll be back. And if anyone has any other topics that they would like to bring up, we certainly can, okay? All right. Yes, Stephanie?
Yeah.